Edie already beautifully read the Matthew verses for today, and I will share with you the passage from Isaiah, the prophet Isaiah, the way he imagines and foresees God's realm coming to this earth. He describes it like this. This is from Isaiah chapter 2, verses 1 through 5. The word which Isaiah, the son of Amoz, saw concerning Judah and Jerusalem. It shall come to pass in the latter days that the mountain of the house of the Lord shall be established as the highest of the mountains, and shall be raised above the hills, and all the nations shall flow to it. And many peoples shall come and say, Come, let us go up to the mountain of the Lord, to the house of the God of Jacob, that he may teach us his ways, and that we may walk in his paths. For out of Zion shall go forth the law, and the word of the Lord from Jerusalem. He shall judge between the nations, and shall decide for many peoples. And they shall beat their swords into plowshares, and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war any more. O house of Jacob, come, let us walk in the light of the Lord. The word of God for the people of God. Thanks be to God. Marco Polo. Marco? Yeah! Yeah! Marco Polo was an Italian merchant born in the early 13th century, and Marco Polo spent 24 years of his life exploring the mysterious continent of Asia. When he set out on his journey, he knew that he was going on an adventure that no one from his part of the world had yet to go on. But he still had a strong sense of knowing what to expect on his journey. These expectations were based on a combination of myths and legends that circulated throughout Europe. They were all hinting or guessing or sometimes outright lying about what could be found in the unexplored region of Asia. In the 13th century, there was little or no distinction between fairy tales and travel essays. They were all sort of mixed together in one comprehensive worldview that made space for the understanding that north is north and south is south, and also there might be dragons behind any mysterious corner. And for that reason, when Marco Polo set out for his journey across the unexplored continent of Asia, he fully expected to see a unicorn. He was convinced that unicorns were real, as were most people in Europe. Most everybody told stories about these mystical creatures, white horses, big magical horn in their forehead, and everybody was very convinced that unicorns absolutely existed, but the reason why they hadn't seen them with their own two eyes was just because they lived somewhere else, somewhere that had yet to be explored. Just last week, a friend shared with me that there is an entry in Marco Polo's journal, an entry from when he was going through the land of Sumatra, when his suspicions were confirmed, and he did indeed see a unicorn. And here's how he described it. They have hair like that of a buffalo, feet like those of an elephant, with a thick black horn in the middle of the forehead. I tell you, it doesn't do harm with its horn, but with its tongue. The head resembles that of a wild boar, and they carry it ever bent towards the ground. They delight much to abide in mire and mud. A unicorn is a very ugly beast to see. I tell you, it's just the opposite of what we all say it is like. What do you suppose was more unexpected for Marco Polo? That his unicorn looked so very different from the mythical, mystical horse creature that he expected to find? Or that just a few hundred years later, his unicorn would become popularly known as a rhinoceros? Welcome to the season of Advent, the beginning of the Christian spiritual journey. It's the season for anticipating the unexpected. Just as the unicorn Marco Polo encountered was completely different than anything he had heard about, in the season of Advent, we come to realize that the reality of God being born and dwelling among us humans is altogether different than anything we can expect from just reading about it in books. When we light the Advent candle of hope, we are calling into question everything we have ever hoped for, everything we have ever relied on, every person and every institution who has ever let us down and disappointed us, everything that has happened in our world to make hope seem scarce or sometimes even absurd. Advent pushes all of these things, all these doubts and fears, into the dark and leaves us with one solitary flame that calls our attention and begs us to ask a simple question. When everything in the world lets you down and disappears, where do you place your hope? For Jesus and the Jewish prophets, that is the starting place of the faith journey. They assure us that it is only when everything we have previously relied on disappears that we can begin to discover our true hope in God. The disciples want to know when God's kingdom will come to earth. And Jesus says it will happen when everything you see is wiped away, when it falls apart, when it crumbles beneath our feet. Nothing of the old world will remain, and you will hear of famines and earthquakes and wars. But you need not fear, because these are simply the birth pangs. These are simply the contractions, paving the way, preparing the way for what comes next. The prophet Isaiah envisions that age after all that is melts away, and only God reigns supreme, God's kingdom on earth as it is in heaven. Isaiah envisions that age as a time when people will not flock to their own places of worship or rely on their own institutions. They will stream to a common mountain where they will learn about God's ways from God directly. They will beat swords into plowshares and learn war no more. It is a world completely governed by God's teaching of covenant relationship. An age when planting and gardening are seen as more profitable than weapons of war. When will such a time exist? The disciples ask. Jesus replies, it will be at an unexpected hour. If you knew when thieves were going to be breaking into your house in the middle of the night, then you could just be alert and awake during that moment, and you could prevent them from stealing from you. And that's how it will be with God's kingdom. At an unexpected hour, like a thief in the night. So, keep awake. Keep alert, or this new world will catch you off guard. So this becomes the first task for us at Advent. The first step on the journey of faith, to hope for the unexpected. To anticipate the age of God's kingdom reigning on earth. This is a difficult thing to do, because we spend a lot of our lives creating and supporting the things that make us feel secure. Bank accounts, pension funds, health insurance, our homes, our weekly schedules, our annual traditions. We tend to place our hope in things that are within our control and within our understanding. We depend on life being somewhat predictable. And the good news of God's kingdom coming to earth doesn't even sound like all that good news if it means we will be robbed of the way of life we have come to depend on so deeply. So the first task is to find a way of divesting our hope from these human-built institutions and storing that hope in the unexpected actions of our God. How do we even begin to do that? That is such a vulnerable and risky place to be. How do you start to build your life on something that you don't understand and that you can't predict? Well, be not afraid, friends, because you don't have to figure it out on your own. There will be messengers from our God. There will be a divine host of creatures that bring forward to you plans and expectations that provide the good news of what God is about to do and how we are to respond. And these messengers are commonly referred to as angels. But beware, because like Marco Polo's unicorn, I think it's possible that angels are going to look completely different than we might expect. You may be surprised to learn that the largest collection of angels in the entire world can be found in a building in Beloit, Wisconsin. I know I was surprised to find that out when I went to college at Beloit College, and right across the street was the Angel Museum, boasting the world's largest collection of angels. I was shocked that such an ordinary, random place would have such a gathering of angels. But my surprise at finding the museum was nothing compared to the surprise of what I discovered inside. When I went inside the museum, I was utterly blown away, shocked, out of my mind, surprised by one thing. Angels are so boring. Apparently, hundreds of years of art and imagination in the Western world has produced a culture in which we are pretty convinced we know exactly what angels look like, and they always look pretty much exactly the same. There are some slight differences. Some have huge bird-like wings, while others have tiny, more like butterfly-like wings. Some have halos, while others have glowing skin. But other than those little details that might change from time to time, whether they are represented in paintings or in sculpture, in wood or ceramic, angels, as far as human beings are concerned, are pretty boring to look at. They pretty much just look like us. We envision angels looking like us, but with wings or halos. They almost always have white skin. They're almost always male. And it occurred to me that people are putting together images of angels that are meant to provide the feelings that we think angels should provide. They're meant to make us feel non-threatened. They're meant to make us feel calm and peaceful about mysterious things happening in the world. And friends, that is not the kind of angel the Bible introduces us to. The biblical accounts of angels are diverse and wild. An angel wrestled Jacob, wrestled him, and actually injured him for life. He had a limp when he left, so that he could earn his name Israel, which literally means one who wrestles with God. Another angel appeared to Moses in the form of a burning bush. The angel Gabriel appeared to Mary and later Joseph to deliver good news about an impossible pregnancy that would have dire consequences for their entire lives. A host of angels, a choir of heavenly bodies, appeared to some sheep herders on a hill to announce to them that God has been born on earth, and they should go and pay homage to this God. And where were they to find him? Born to a homeless, unmarried immigrant couple, finding refuge with animals in a barn. Angels are sent to bring messages of joy and comfort, but the unexpected news they bring is by definition uncomfortable. Almost every time that an angel appears in the Bible, the first words they say are, "Be not afraid." This implies that an encounter with an angel is an unsettling, possibly even a terrifying experience. So every image of an angel that you have in your head, every Precious Moments character, which truly are kind of creepy with the huge black eyes. I mean, those are like weird looking things. But every image of an angel that has ever been handed to you to make you feel calm, that has been specifically designed to be sanitized and soothing, I need to ask you to set that image of an angel aside. Because we are almost guaranteed that just like Marco Polo's unicorn, when we meet an actual angel, an actual messenger of the Lord, bringing us tidings and news of what is to come, it is likely to look exactly the opposite of how we thought it would. And I don't say this to scare or worry you. Quite the opposite. I bring you good news and glad tidings. The glory of our God is more diverse and wild and wondrous than anything we have been taught to expect. Be not afraid of the new, the unknown, the uncertain. Because, brothers and sisters, we do not face it alone. God will send messengers of hope and glad tidings to prepare the way for what is to come. They will not look like what we thought they would look like, and they will come at an unexpected hour. So for today, for this week, keep awake. Keep awake, friends. Keep awake and hope in the unexpected. Keep awake and anticipate the impossible. Keep awake and see what our God is about to do next.